While the surviving gods gathered on the peaks of Idavel to remember the past, the valleys below remained silent. The cities of men had been ground to dust by the earthquakes, and the forests had been reduced to ash by the sword of Surtur. To any observer, it would appear that the experiment of humanity had failed, extinguished alongside the vanity of their kings. But Odin, even in his death, had left one final secret safeguard. He knew that the resilience of mankind was greater than the fury of the elements. During the height of the catastrophe, when the sky was raining fire and the Fenris wolf was tearing the atmosphere apart, there was one place that remained untouched. It was a small, unassuming grove, known as Hadmimus Holt. Some legends say it was a forest protected by ancient magic. Others claim it was a hollow deep within the wood of Yggdrasil itself. The world tree, though shaken by the tremors, did not fall. Its bark was thick enough to withstand the inferno, and within its fibers it offered a sanctuary. Inside this wooden womb, 2 humans had taken refuge. One was a woman named Leiflif, and the other was a man named Lithrazer, Life's Yearning. They were not great warriors or powerful sorcerers. They were simple beings who had fled the carnage of the Fimbo winter, finding their way to the tree by instinct. For the duration of the apocalypse, they lay hidden in the deep silence of the wood, trembling as the world outside ended. They had no stores of grain, no salted meat, and no water skins. To survive, they licked the morning dew that collected in the crevices of the wood. This dew, distilled from the lifeblood of the world tree, sustained them, keeping death at bay while the universe burned. When the roaring of the fire finally ceased, and the earth rose green and fresh from the sea, Leif and Lithracer emerged from their hiding place. They stepped out into a world that was unrecognizable. There were no borders, no nations, and no threats. The air was cleaner than it had ever been. The silence was not frightening, but welcoming. They looked at each other and realized the magnitude of their burden. They were the last of the old world and the first of the new. From their union, the generations of men would spring forth again, spreading across the revitalized Midgard to populate the earth. But a new earth needed a new light. The old sun had been devoured by the wolf skull, plunging the cosmos into darkness. However, the myths tell us that the sun was a mother. Before she was caught by the wolf, she had given birth to a Dotor Starn, no less beautiful than herself. As Leif and Lithrazer looked up, they saw this new sun ascending the azure path of the sky. She followed her mother's track, but she moved with a confidence the old sun never possessed. There were no wolves chasing her. The monsters were dead. She shone with a gentle, golden warmth, blessing the new couple and the soil beneath their feet. This is the ultimate promise of Norse mythology. It is not a story of nihilism, where death is the end. It is a story of cycles. Just as winter must yield to spring, destruction must yield to creation. Humanity was not saved by the weapons of Thor or the cunning of Loki. We were saved by the simple endurance of 2 people who refused to die, protected by the very tree that holds the universe together. The nightmare of Ragnarök was over. The dream of the future had just begun. The vision of the new world is often painted as a paradise, a utopia where the grass never withers and the sun never burns. And indeed, for the survivors, it seemed so. High upon the shining plains, a new hall rose to replace the fallen splendor of Valhalla. It was called Gimli, a sanctuary roofed with gold that shone brighter than the sun itself. Unlike Valhalla, which was a barracks for warriors awaiting war, Gimli was a haven for the virtuous. It was promised that here, the righteous would live in peace for all eternity, free from the machinations of tricksters or the hunger of wolves. It was the ultimate reward, the happy ending that humanity craves. But the Norse sages were not naive. They were people of the harsh north, familiar with the brutality of winter and the inevitability of decay. They understood a fundamental truth of the cosmos, that light cannot exist without shadow, and order cannot exist without the threat of chaos. Even in this reborn universe, cleansed by fire and flood, a remnant of the old darkness managed to cling to existence. As the prophecy of the Valva draws to its close, the seeress describes one final, chilling image. She does not look at the golden hall of Gimli, nor at the playing gods. Her gaze shifts to the dark mountains in the distance, to the shimmering peaks of There, rising from the gloom, comes the shadow that refuses to die. It is Nidhogg, the malice striker, the great dragon that once gnawed at the roots of Ig. Throughout the destruction of Ragnarök, while gods fell and giants burned, Nidhogg survived. He was not slain by Thor, nor did he perish in Surtur's flames. He endures. The prophecy describes him flying low over the plains, his dark wings casting a fleeting shadow over the new perfection. And beneath his wings, caught in his feathers, he carries the corpses of the damned. He is a scavenger of the apocalypse, a reminder that death and suffering are not erased, merely relocated. Why does the dragon survive? Why would the prophecy end with such a grim vision? It is perhaps the most profound lesson of Norse mythology. It suggests that evil is not an external enemy that can be defeated once and for all. It is a part of the fabric of reality. The destruction of the old world removed the specific players of Loki and Fenrir, but it did not remove the nature of the struggle. Nidhogg remains to ensure that the balance is kept. If the new gods become arrogant, if the new humans become corrupt, the dragon is there, waiting in the dark mountains, ready to begin the cycle of gnawing and destruction all over again. So, while the new sun shines, and the children of Thor laugh in the meadows, the wise do not forget to look at the horizon. They know that the peace they enjoy is fragile. They know that the dragon flies. It is a warning to the future. Do not take this paradise for granted. Do not repeat the mistakes of the Aesir, because the monster is not dead. He is merely watching, and his hunger is eternal. This lingering shadow gives the Norse ending a weight that few other mythologies possess. It is hope, yes, but it is a hope tempered by a terrifying reality. We have journeyed from the screaming silence of the Ginnungagap to the roaring fires of Surtur, and finally to the quiet green meadows of the New World. We have seen gods built from the imagination of a warrior culture, beings of immense power who were, nevertheless, bound by the same inevitable fate as the mortals who worshipped them. But as we close the book on these ancient myths, one final question remains: why does this story matter? Why, after 1,000 years, do we still speak the names of Odin, Thor, and Loki? The answer lies in the unique shape of Norse mythology. Unlike many other belief systems that view time as a straight line, a journey from a beginning to a permanent end, Norse saw time as a circle. They lived in a land of extremes, where the sun died every winter and was reborn every spring. They understood that destruction is not an error in the system. It is a necessary part of the design. The old wood must burn to make ash for the new soil. The old gods must fall, so the new gods can play. Ragnarök is not a story about death. It is a story about change. But the true brilliance of this mythology is not found in its cosmology, but in its morality. In most stories, the hero fights because he believes he will win. In Norse mythology, the heroes to Asir fight, even though they know they will lose. Odin knew for centuries that the wolf would eat him. Thor knew the serpent would poison him. Yet, they did not run. They did not try to negotiate a surrender. They gathered their weapons, put on their armor, and marched to Vigrid to meet their doom head-on. This is the ultimate legacy of the Vikings. It is a philosophy of defiance in the face of nihilism. They taught that we cannot control our fate. Threads are spun by the Norns, and the length of our life is already decided. But we can control how we face it. Success is not measured by whether you live or die, but by whether you stand your ground when the sky falls. It is a call to find meaning not in the outcome, but in the struggle itself. To laugh in the face of the storm, just as the heroes in Valhalla feast while waiting for the end of the world. Today, the temples of Uppsala are gone. The long ships have rotted into the earth, but the echo of these gods remains woven into the fabric of our daily lives. We hear them when we speak the days of the week. Wednesday, Odin's Day; Thursday, Thor's Day; Friday, Freya's Day. We see them in our movies, our games, and our literature. They survive because they are not distant, perfect angels. They are flawed, jealous, brave, and tragic. They are mirrors of ourselves, magnified against a cosmic backdrop. So, as the new sun rises over the reborn earth, and the surviving gods cast the golden dice in the grass, we realize that the story never truly ends. We are Leif and Lifthrasir, emerging from the shelter of our own trials to build something new. The winter will always come back. The wolf will always hunger. But as long as there is the will to stand up and face the darkness, the fire of humanity will never be extinguished. The cycle is complete. The myth is told, but the courage to live it belongs to you. And so, the saga of the North comes to an end. From the first breath of Ymir to the last stand of Odin, we have witnessed a cycle of creation, destruction, and rebirth that has captivated humanity for 1,000 years. This documentary was a massive journey, and if you are still here, you are truly part of the Ein. Creating this 16-chapter saga took countless hours of research, writing, and editing. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Norse mythology, please honor the effort by hitting that like button and subscribing to the channel. It is the best way to help us keep these stories alive. Now, I want to hear from you. In the final battle of Ragnarok, many heroes fell. If you could save just one god from their fate, who would it be? Would you save Odin from the wolf, Thor from the serpent, or perhaps Baldur from the mistletoe? Let me know your choice in the comments below. The North is done, but the mythology verse is vast. We have only scratched the surface of the ancient world. Should we sail south to the golden sands of Egypt, or should we climb the peaks of Mount Olympus to face the Greek pantheon? The choice is yours. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your support. And until next time, keep the fire burning.